What's up, YouTube? Zero here, and today I have my 2 dragons and a bird deck. That's right, Dragonite, Dragonite EX, and Oricorio. In this video, I'll go over the deck build that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. Of course, this deck is focused around Dragonite. I'll talk about each of the cards individually. I'll talk about why they work so well together and why you should be checking out this deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. Something that I found very funny as I was recording the clips for this video, I've rarely faced any Dragonite decks with my other decks. All of a sudden, I built this deck, I went into random battles, I started utilizing my Dragonite deck, and I started facing a lot of Dragonite decks. It's really weird, but you're gonna see my Dragonite deck up against a couple of other Dragonite decks in these clips. It was just very random that I've rarely ever seen any, and all of a sudden I put together this deck, started recording, and all of a sudden I'm facing Dragonite decks. Before I get into it, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. It does really help out me and my channel, so thank you so much in advance for doing so. Without further ado, let's talk about 2 dragons and a bird. So we got a couple of Dragonites and Oricorio. It's really 2 birds, it's 2 Oricorios, but since it's just one Pokemon, it's a bird. Let's talk about these Dragonites. So I have 1 Dragonite EX and 1 Dragonite. Several reasons for that, and I'm going to discuss them as I'm talking about both of these Dragonites. Let's talk about Dragonite EX, which was dropped with the Eevee Grove packs. So look out for this Dragonite EX in the Eevee Grove packs. This one's pretty simple. Dragonite EX for 3 energy, 1 blue, 1 water, 1 electric, and 1 colorless Giga Impact for 180 damage. So that is insane. You're going to KO pretty much every Pokemon in the game, barring any type of cape. So Leaf Cape or Giant Cape can save a few Pokemon, but outside of that, you're going to KO every Pokemon in the game for 180 damage with Giga Impact. However, there is a huge flaw to this. During your next turn, this opponent cannot attack. So there are benefits and, of course, drawbacks with this move. 180 is insanely powerful. You're going to KO pretty much every Pokemon in the game, but not being able to attack on your next move is a huge hindrance. Next, let's talk about the other Dragonite, and this Dragonite is just basic Dragonite, not basic Dragonite, but non-EX Dragonite. It is still a stage 2. You can find it in the Genetic Apex Mewtwo packs. This one I actually like a little bit better, but it's a little bit more random. For 4 energy, 1 water, 1 electric, and 2 colorless, one of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random 4 times. For each time a Pokemon was chosen, do 50 damage to it. So it depends upon how many Pokemon your opponent has on the playing field. Of course, if your opponent only has 1 Pokemon on the playing field, you're going to deal all 200 damage to that Pokemon. So Dragonite non-EX has the potential of dealing more damage to 1 Pokemon than Dragonite EX. So that's pretty cool. However, if your opponent does have 4 Pokemon on the playing field, the damage is going to be scattered at random. You're not sure what Pokemon you're going to hit. You could hit 1 Pokemon for 200, but you could hit all 4 just for 50 damage. And that's still not that bad, but if you're looking to get a KO, it may not be too helpful. So while Dragonite non-EX is really cool and can deal a lot of damage, its randomness can sometimes hurt you when in the heat of battle. So just be aware of that, although I do like it a little bit better than Dragonite EX because Dragonite EX can't attack on the next turn. So if you utilize 180 damage against a Pokemon that doesn't have a lot of HP left and you're left vulnerable, that does kind of put you on your back foot a little bit. Now, of course, with Dragonite and Dragonite EX, we need a couple of Dratinis. I have the Dratinis for 1 colorless energy, deal 20 damage with beat. So just be aware of that this Dratini is released with the Eevee Grove packs. There are a couple of Dratinis in the game. I like the one for 1 colorless energy, so I can just start attacking with Dratini instead of having to worry about which energy I'm pulling, whether it's water or electric. I like the colorless energy so I can attack regardless of which energy I'm pulling, because this does require 2 energies, water and electric, based off of our 2 Dragonites. Now, Dragonair, the one I only have 1 Dragonair, is Waterfall for 60, requires 1 water and 1 electric. Again, there are a couple of Dragonairs in the game. I'm using the one that only requires 1 water energy and 1 electric energy. And this Dragonair is also going to be found in those Eevee Grove packs. Again, Dratini can attack because of the colorless energy, makes it easy. This Dragonair is a little bit better than the other Dragonairs in the game in order to be able to attack, requires less energy. So I like this Dragonair a little bit better. If I do get it, I can get it out there and start attacking pretty easily. Next, another card that you really need with these 2 Dragonites is going to be Rare Candy. If you have Dratini on the battlefield for at least 1 turn, and you have a Rare Candy and your Dragonite in your hand, you can skip the stage 1 and go right to the stage 2. So in this case, you can skip Dragonair and go right to Dragonite. Rare Candy is going to be found in the Celestial Guardians packs. Before I get on to more of the deck, I want to talk about these Dragonites. There's a reason why I have 1 of each of the Dragonites, Dragonite EX and Dragonite. I like to see how the battle's going to determine which Dragonite I want to face or utilize. As I mentioned earlier, Dragonite EX deals a lot of damage, 180, and it is only 3 energy, whereas our other Dragonite, our non-EX Dragonite, requires 4 energy, and it also hits at random. So depending upon what deck my opponent has, what cards my opponent is playing, is going to determine what Dragonite I play. Obviously, it's nice to get both out, but it's going to be rare that you're able to power up both of these Dragonites in one match. So just pay attention to how the match is going. I do prefer the non-EX Dragonite, but again, it does depend. If my opponent has a strong Pokemon out there and I want to make sure I'm dealing damage to it, then Dragonite EX is going to be the play so I can make sure I hit it for 180. Whereas if my opponent doesn't have any Pokemon on the playing field except for the one in the active slot, or maybe only has 2 Pokemon on the playing field and they don't have a lot of HP, perhaps I want to go with my non-EX Dragonite because it's going to be dealing a lot of damage. So you have to kind of see how the battle is going as to which Dragonite you want to utilize. Let's talk about the other Pokemon in this deck, Oricorio. Oricorio is fantastic for any deck that runs electric energy. It is really fantastic for any deck in case you do run into an EX Pokemon. Oricorio has the ability Safeguard, which prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon EX. So that means any EX Pokemon aren't going to damage Oricorio with a direct attack. That's pretty awesome and can shut down a lot of decks. Now, a lot of opponents are now starting to build decks specifically to counter Oricorio. I've seen Charizard EX deck builds, I've seen Giratina and Darkrai EX deck builds that are specifically putting a Pokemon in there to counter Oricorio. That does not mean Oricorio is a bad card because it has counters. Forcing an opponent to utilize a specific card to take out Oricorio means Oricorio is phenomenal. Other people are planning just to defeat Oricorio, and making your opponent not able to utilize their EX Pokemon is even better. You force your opponent to change their strategy, which can allow you time to build up your Dragonites and implement your strategy. So Oricorio is phenomenal because of its ability. It also has a move for 1 electric energy and 1 colorless, is Zap for 50 damage. So I love Oricorio in almost all of my electric decks. It is a phenomenal card. Oricorio can be found in the Celestial Guardians packs. Next, couple of basic cards, and especially for this deck, you absolutely need it. Pokeball draws a basic from your deck to your hand. Professor's Research draws 2 cards. Pokemon communication is going to be critical. I mentioned earlier, you can kind of determine which Dragonite you want to utilize based off of how the match is going. Regardless of that, if there's a Pokemon in your hand that you don't need, whether you already have an Oricorio on the playing field and you don't need that second one, maybe you don't need the second Dratini or you don't need the Dragonair, you can utilize Pokemon communication, sacrifice that Pokemon to draw a random Pokemon from your deck to your hand. So if you're able to do that, you can potentially pull your Dragonite. Maybe you have a rare candy in your hand already. You could potentially pull your Dragonite and get it on the playing field as quickly as possible. So Pokemon communication is going to be really important for this deck as well, because you want to get your Dragonite out onto the playing field, attacking as quickly as possible. A couple of cards to support Dragonite, regardless of which one. Giant Cape, going to increase the HP of Dragonite by 20. Dragonite EX, this is going to allow you to avoid a KO from a Dragonite EX. It's also going to prevent some Pokemon from KOing you with using red. So it is a very nice card to have to increase the HP of both of your Dragonites. Sometimes even increasing the HP of your Oricorio so it can act as a wall while you're building up your Dragonite, getting that energy that you need. Of course, the energy is random. You have 2 energies. Sometimes you may be pulling the same energy for a while, so you may want to put Oricorio out there to kind of act as a wall, and the extra HP is really going to help. Lily is fantastic for Dragonites as well. Lily, you heal 60 damage from one of your stage 2 Pokemon. Both Dragonites are stage 2, so if they do take damage, you can heal up 60 for your Dragonites to keep them on the battlefield longer so they can continue to use damage. We already saw Dragonite EX can't attack after it attacked for its first Giga Impact. So utilizing Lily, you know Dragonite is going to get hit if you don't finish off the game. So you can utilize to heal 60 HP. And coupled with Giant Cape, it's going to make Dragonite EX even harder to kill. Same thing with Dragonite. 160 HP goes to 180. Lily's going to make it harder to kill your Dragonites. Last but not least, I like Sabrina. Can force out a card from that active slot of your opponents to the bench. Can really throw off your opponent's strategy. Lily can be found in the Celestial Guardians Solgaleo packs, and Sabrina can be found in the Genetic Apex Charizard packs. Sabrina is phenomenal, can slow down your opponent so you can implement your strategy. This is a slower deck to build up because of how much energy is required on your Dragonites. So Sabrina is great just to slow down your opponents. That's really what I'm utilizing it here for, is to slow down opponents. This deck is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, only requires Oricorio, a couple of different Dragonites, but it's a really fun deck. I don't utilize Zeraora in this deck. I know some people like to utilize Zeraora with Dragonite. I just don't, because its ability, which draws an electric energy from the energy zone to it to start the battle, is only good at start of battle. So if you don't get Zeraora right away, Zeraora is useless. So I don't like it as a part of this deck. I'd rather some support cards. But let me know in the comments section what you think of this deck. Is this a deck that you enjoy? Is this one that you're going to build? Is Dragonite one of your favorite Pokemon? Let me know in the comments section. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until next time, peace.